What is up, y'all? Happy quarantine. I think we've all been a little bit bored during this time. And I kind of decided that, on my social media platforms, despite all my artistic endeavors, everyone knows I love to cook, I love culinary, I love baking, and those posts get a lot, if not more attention than a lot of my other stuff. So I thought, why not take this time and go ahead and create some episodes and live my Food Network star dreams. I figured today we're going to start with my great Grammy Myers banana cake, which I have made several times over the last couple years, and I have tweaked it into a banana chocolate chip loaf. It is quite delicious. We've come a long way since the early 1900s, so I figure I add some more spice, I add some more chocolate. Who doesn't love bananas and chocolate? And I prefer loaf to cake because cakes to me need icing, and then you gotta slice them in a certain way. I love to just slice and eat. Slice and eat. That's how you would eat a cake bread and a loaf. So either way, tomato, tomato. Anyway, to start, I have a loaf pan that I've already buttered and floured. So it's just, chilling out, waiting, reporting for duty. And I've just got everything prepped. I'm usually not this organized ever when I'm baking this recipe, but I figure since trying to make it short and sweet, here we go. So I have 1.5 cups of sugar here that I am going to cream together with 1/2 cup of butter. That's a whole stick of butter. Aren't you sold already? Who doesn't love butter? You can't go wrong with that. This is not vegan friendly, I'm sorry. I am deciding if I want to go down that road, but for now, full fat, here we go. In creaming the butter and sugar, you just want to make sure it's well combined. It should almost be like sand. So it's combined, but it's not going to necessarily be like a cookie batter. Great. To that, I'm going to add my egg yolks. And she, the way that she wrote her recipe is a little this and that all over the place. And I've kind of really become accustomed to all the wet, then all the dry. So I'm going to go ahead and add 2 egg yolks that I've already separated, and I will use the whites later. 2 egg yolks, 1 teaspoon of vanilla. And I'm going to get that going. And you'll see once you add that, when you mix that into this, it's going to become a lot more gooey and luscious. To that, I have 2 ripe bananas that I've already placed in this bowl. I saved one so I could show you. It calls for ripe bananas. Many times when I've made this recipe, my bananas are completely gone to the point, so I put them in the freezer and then they become black, so they're super, super ripe. If you do use frozen bananas, just make sure you take them out at least a day before so they have the opportunity to come to room temperature. I've made the mistake of making this recipe with everything not in room temperature, and it just took forever, and I'm surprised it didn't burn because everything was cold and not in the same temperature. So when I put it in the oven, everything was what's happening? So this is an acceptable ripe banana, okay? It's not completely black. You really just want it to be mushy. Just so it can pulp well and, be easy. I'm just gonna go ahead and mash those up with a fork. While I do that, I guess now would be a good time. I never knew my Grammy Myers, but I knew her daughter, who is my Grammy Landis. She's unfortunately no longer with us, but I think about her often when I make this recipe, and the time that I did have with her growing up was always so, it was interesting, it was special. I was actually quite terrified of her, probably until her last 2 years of life when I was a little older and wiser and understood her. She was such a loving woman. She was so amazing in the kitchen, and I often wonder, many times in my life, what kind of memories we could make with her, but God rest her soul. She is tattooed on my rib cage. Grammy, I love you. This one's for you. Okay, banana's done. So I'm gonna go ahead and add those to the mix. And then I have 1/2 cup of milk that I'm also gonna toss in here. Okay, I'm gonna give that a go. Now that that's done, I'm gonna take a minute. I generally love to sift all my dry ingredients first, so that way when my wet ingredients are well incorporated, all I have to do is, add, mix, done. I think the first time you make any recipe, you're always just like, ah! You're running around like a crazy person. So anyway, to avoid that, I usually prep, sift beforehand, and then it's just dump and do. There's definitely value in prep work. Okay, so my dry ingredients are 2 cups of flour. I'm gonna add 1 teaspoon of baking soda. I'm gonna add 1 teaspoon of salt. Okay, that's all my grandmother put in hers. Dry-wise, I, again, took the liberty. I'm gonna go ahead and add a teaspoon of cinnamon. Who doesn't love cinnamon? This is an optional ingredient. The first time I tweaked it, I just did cinnamon and a little bit of nutmeg and it was perfect. I've really, over the years, fallen in love with cardamom. It is such a beautiful spice. And it complements cinnamon so beautifully. So I'm just gonna do half a teaspoon of that. Okay. And then, I really only use fresh nutmeg because I'm bougie like that. But it's very inexpensive and I like that it's not as concentrated as the pre-ground stuff. So if you're using a pre-ground, you probably only want to put in 1/8 to 1/4 of a teaspoon because I always use fresh. I don't know exactly how much I use. But using fresh, you want to use about just over 1/4 of the whole nutmeg itself. Okay. So after that's done, I'm gonna go ahead and whisk all that together. Now I am ready to start adding. And again, I do this in like thirds. So I add about 1/3 of the dry to the wet, give it a little mix, and then repeat. That is a beautiful, I love this batter. To that, I'm gonna add, this is where, you know, in baking, you're always supposed to measure, but I find when you're adding fixins, you should add as much as you like. So, if you're a measurer, I'd say you're gonna wanna add at least a cup of chocolate chips. I like a little bit more because chocolate and banana. So good. The last thing that we need to do is we have to add egg whites. If you've never whisked together egg whites to stiffen them, it is so fun. The one thing that I always do wonder, and I've never actually asked this question, but given the age of my great-grandmother, I'm like, she probably had to do, or even maybe her mother, because I'm assuming this recipe probably came even further down the line, probably had to do this with a whisk at some point, and I was like, that would be quite the arm workout. So we're lucky in 2020 that we get to use electrical things. Wasn't that so fun and so cool? So you'll see they look like puffy clouds, and when you pick it up, whoop, you know, it'll peak in the bowl, and they're super fluffy, whoop, and slide around in this bowl. Super fun. Now I add my chocolate chips first because you want to be mindful when you're folding in egg whites. You don't want to lose them, so you want to be very careful not to overmix them into the batter, just until it's incorporated, and you will see, and I'll show you when I do it, you will still see egg white in the batter. So you're not looking for it to disappear, making sure it's throughout the batter, and you'll see it. I mean, it's going to look like there's clouds in your batter. That's what you want. So I have my loaf pan. As I said, it's already buttered and floured. You can certainly use any sort of nonstick spray you have, whatever floats your boat. The one thing I haven't completely mastered, sorry, I'm hiding my face. The one thing I haven't completely mastered, because I can't tell if it's my New York oven that I feel like doesn't actually ever reach a temperature and it just gets really hot, or if it's because I make this in a loaf pan versus a cake pan. But my Grammy, her recipe said to bake this at 40 minutes. I find that in this loaf pan, I check it at 45 minutes, but the center usually takes an extra 15 to 20 minutes. So if you're fancy and you're bougie and you have a really lovely oven and you try this recipe and you bake it at 350 degrees, please let me know how long it takes. Last time I made this, it took 60 minutes. So again, I'm gonna check it at 45 and then we'll go from there, but it will probably take closer to an hour. So here we go, see you soon. I've often wondered if I was ever fortunate enough to have my own cooking show, what my name would be. Things I've hashtagged around before are Bradley's Day Off, Cooking with Bradley, Baking with Bradley. My name is not Bradley. That's just what all my good friends tend to end up calling me. So you know you've made it in my friendship when you get to call me Bradley. What else have I thought of? Sass and Bake. Tea Time with Bradley. Just kidding, I'm not that gay. Okay, y'all, as promised, I checked this at 45 minutes, more just for color. I haven't quite tested the center yet, so it's been about 50 minutes, so 55 minutes actually. So I'm gonna go ahead and pull this out and see where we're at. Look how gorgeous. All right, just a chocolate smudge. So I'm gonna go ahead and put it back in for just 3 more minutes just to be safe, because it's a little smudgy, but it will continue to set as it rests, because I'm not gonna slice into it right away. And you know, this is a very moist batter, so moist. Fast forward, TV magic, 5 minutes later, here we are, and I'm exactly where I want to be with this, okay? So, I have my bread pulled out of the oven, and it's perfect, okay? It's completely spongy, yeah? There's a little give, bounces right back, okay? That's what you want. Okay, y'all, here is the real moment of truth, okay? I let it rest for 10 minutes, okay? After that, I probably should have done this on camera, but I'm still learning. Because I floured and buttered, all I had to do was place a plate on top, dump, and lift. And at that point, I could just flip the loaf over and it was ready to go. So, moment of truth. Here we go. We're gonna slice right down the middle. Oh yeah. And that, my friends, is a beautiful, beautiful banana chocolate chip loaf. Guess I should get in frame. A beautiful, beautiful banana chocolate chip loaf. Slice. It's still very warm. Whoop. And eat. It's all about the reactions, right? Oh! So good. Okay. I promise if you let it set for longer, I just was really excited once to show you. It slices really nice once it's fully cooled, but I was ambitious. If you've made it this far in the episode, thank you so much for joining me today. This is my first time. So many things to work out, but thank you for watching. Let me know if you try this recipe, what you think of it. Let me know those show names in case we see you again, in case I decide to keep doing this. And thanks for watching. Hope to see you in the kitchen again soon. And whatever you do, don't forget to slice and eat. Thank you, guys.
Make it work, make it easy, make it clever, craft it into pieces, make it sweet, crimp the edges.